Nature versus nurture. Which of the two would have a bigger say in a person's life? Do you think people could change? Or do you think they were born that way? It would be hard to fight the genes. In this week's story, we're exploring the story of Cherry Willoughby and her struggles as a mother for two adopted girls. This is Caesar, and welcome back to Caesar Talks. Here's a story of Cherry Willoughby. Cherry's only wish after marriage is to have children and be a good mother to her children. Unfortunately, by the time she's 30, she's experienced 5 miscarriages and 2 ectopic pregnancies. She also tried IVF several times, but failed. Cherry and her husband John have always been dreaming of having a baby, but due to her age, the doctors advise against having another baby naturally. Maybe it was time to adopt. They were lucky enough that they were living in the UK, and adoption was a normal thing to do. The extended families also supported their decision. They contacted the adoption officer and put in the adoption form. They conveyed the desire to adopt 2 children. After quite a long process, in 1992, they were approved as adoptive parents, and after a while, a letter came by, and inside was a picture of 2 little angels. They were very excited. Finally, they might have a chance to become a mom and dad. A week later, they came by to the foster parents' house to check on the sisters, Marianne and Nicola. Marianne was 3 years old, while Nicola was still a 6-month-old baby. When they arrived, Marianne welcomed them cheerfully, and out of nowhere, she asked Cherry if they were their new mummy. This made Cherry fall in love with the 2 little angels. Perhaps this is the time she would become a real mother. After all her struggles, she would have 2 little angels now to fill her 5-bedroom house. The house wouldn't feel so empty anymore, she thought. But something unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, Marianne suddenly scratched Cherry's face. John and Cherry were shocked to see the attack, but the social worker who accompanied them quickly calmed them down and said once they were settled and lived happily in a more stable environment, they would behave normally. And if they need any help, there are professionals out there, professionals such as doctors, counselors and psychologists who could help their kids in their growth and development. After 3 months of regularly visiting the 2 children and getting to know them, the couple officially adopted Marianne and Nicola. Everything seemed great at first. The kids settled in the newly painted pink bedroom, with wardrobes being filled with new clothes and toys all around. But something strange happened just 6 weeks later. It was a quiet afternoon, and Marianne was playing in her room. Cherry was curious, as Marianne seemed to be busy with her dolls, but to her horror, it seemed that Marianne had been wrecking her new dolls all afternoon. It was all misshapen by then. Sure enough, Cherry got the goosebumps. Something was not right. But it was not the end. It was just the start of it. Marianne was not behaving well in the playgroup school. She showed uncontrollable behavior at times. If she wanted another child's toy, she would just snatch it right out. Other times, she would just hit another child without any particular reason. Her teacher had enough of her, and she was regrettably expelled, as she was endangering the other children. And as her behavior got worse, the other children would not play with her. In a way, she was ostracized with the others. It came to a point when no one from her school attended her birthday party. This made her even angrier. Curious, Cherry made inquiry to the adoption center. She wanted to know both of her girls' biological mother. It turned out that their mother was a convicted murderer who at the time was serving prison time for a period of 15 years. Cherry was stunned. No one told her. The people from the agencies only gave her words of encouragement and textbook advice. They told Cherry Marianne would outgrow this rebellious phase. But for Cherry, it never did. The tantrum got worse. When she was angry, she would even wreck her room. Nicola, the baby, soon enough started to follow her sister's behavior. She could not stay still. It would have problems concentrating at school too. Some parents would have just neglected misbehaving children like Marianne and Nicola, but not Cherry. She still believed that with love and affection, she could just reach out to them, and maybe they would turn out for the better. For example, every time they threw a fit, Cherry would just hug them out. She would not scold them, but I guess her gentle treatment did not work for them. Years gone by, and her household was getting even more tense. Because of the children's, Cherry and John would have lots of fight along the years. They have gone to many doctors and psychiatrists, but it did not help them too much. John was getting fed up with how soft Cherry handled the 2 kids. He believed in strict parenting, but Cherry believed in a softer approach. In 1999, John made up his mind, and he asked for a divorce. They sold their 5-bedroom dream house. John was gone. Cherry, left with Marianne and Nicola, decided to move to Spain to stay with Cherry's father. Nicola was sent to the local school, while Marianne was homeschooled by Cherry. Deep down, she hoped a change of environment would do her 2 girls some good. But puberty made it worse. Marianne was now obsessed with fire, and she had deliberately tried to set fire to her house multiple times. Fortunately, the fires were easily contained. Furthermore, when she was 13, she would run away for days and later was found hanging out with older men in a bar with a mini dress. There were even times when she would hit Cherry and her grandpa with a broomstick. After 2 years, Cherry's father had enough of her and told her to move out of the house. The little sister Nicola was still allowed to stay with her grandpa, but her older sister was forced to move back to England along with her mother. Things went south for the both of them in England. As Marianne continued with her antics, Cherry began to feel unwell. She was struggling both mentally and physically, and true enough, one day she even suffered a stroke and had to be hospitalized for 2 months. A year later, Nicola came back to England, and a few days later, out of nowhere, Marianne threw a fit in her house. Marianne attacked Nicola, her sister, and even her mother. Police were called, and they told Cherry that it was finally time to put Marianne back into the system. It would be dangerous for Cherry to give Marianne any longer. Cherry was saddened to let Marianne go, but Marianne did not care. She would spend the rest of her teenage years hopping from one foster home to the other. Cherry continued to visit her at these foster homes from time to time. She never gave up on her. Her sister Nicola, on the other hand, started to show her wild side too. She too was expelled when she was 14. One time, she even emptied her mother's bank account and went on a spending spree. Regrettably, Cherry's patience ran out and she put Nicola to home for troubled teens. But it did not stop Nicola. She was caught smuggling drugs inside the home and was sent to jail for 18 months. Marianne did even worse. Together with her gang, she was caught beating an old woman and needed to serve a longer sentence. At the age of 22, she was sentenced for 8 years. Cherry was shocked at the fact that both of her adopted children followed the same pattern as their biological mother. Despite all the love and care they were given as children, Cherry still visited her children at times, while John was never there. Through her experiences, she decided to write a book. Within the book, she shared her stories and gave a warning to other parents who intend to adopt a child. She wanted the story to act as a cautionary tale to others. She hoped people would do their due diligence before adopting a child. It is not easy to raise a child. In fact, 1 in 5 adoption cases in the UK ended with the child returned to the system a few years later. That's all for this week's story. Until next time, cheers.